Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Nick, and today we're diving in to some newer movie reviews. It's been a while. With all the Friday the 13th stuff and that was going on, I didn't really have time to do a lot of 2021 releases. So now's my chance to get those out and a few movie requests that you guys asked me to do as well. I'll get on those. This will be spoiler free, so I'm going to be looking at Black Widow, which has been delayed for some time now. It's finally out though. It's on Disney Plus and it's in theaters. So you have to pay extra on Disney Plus to watch it. It's like one of those exclusive releases or whatever. And of course, Scarlett Johansson is suing Disney over that in real life. So it's interesting to see how that's all going to play out. But was it worth the wait? Let's find out. So Black Widow was released in 2021. It stars Scarlett Johansson, Florence Pugh, and David Harbour, and was directed by Kate Shortland. So I just have to say I was pretty excited for this movie's release when I initially heard it back a few years ago when they said they were making a Black Widow film. But at first they said it was going to be a hard R rating and it was going to be violent and gory to show her true backstory. And that's not exactly what we got. We did not get an R-rated film. It's definitely not gory or violent. It's pretty much like the other MCU films at this point, which is a bummer because, I mean, how many times they're going to pull that card? They did it with Doctor Strange 2. They announced it was going to be a horror movie and rated R. That's already thrown out the window. Now it's back down to PG-13, I believe, and no more horror. Might be horror aspects in it, but it's not going to be a horror film like the Sam Raimi wanted. So anyway, getting into the plot of this one, we got Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow herself. She's on the run after the events of Civil War, and she gets tied up in a conspiracy which also ties in with her past. To me, this is just a really odd timeline for this film to be placed. Like, it's placed right after Civil War, which came out in like 2016, and we're 2021 now, so it just feels like it's way too late for that, especially after our big spectacles in like Infinity War and Endgame. Then you're going to go back to before that in a random little period of time. I just feel like that was a really odd choice. Obviously, we can't do a future movie if you know the events of Endgame, how it plays out for Black Widow. So yeah, I get that they had to do that, but this really should have been released before Infinity War. Like, it would have made way more sense, and I think it would have made way more money. But Scarlett Johansson plays Black Widow again, and she does a great job as always. She's always fun to watch, and I really enjoy her character. But if I'm being honest, this is probably my least favorite version of her, if that makes any sense. Like, even in Iron Man 2, she's not in it much, but the scenes that she is in, I'm like, wow, she's so badass and cool. And I don't know, it just never worked for me in this film as much. And it's nothing against Scarlett Johansson. She's acting it perfectly, just like her other roles. But the way she's written in this, I feel, is very weak. Uh, Obviously, we get more characters than just her. We get her sister and her dad and all that. So they kind of take the center stage at times instead of her, which is weird considering this is a Black Widow movie. And the other films that she was in, she was always paired with these superheroes, right? These super soldiers or these people who can fly or to have all these powers. And she is just a regular person. She's an assassin and a good one, but she has no superpowers. And the way things play out, it plays out very far-fetched in this. There's so many things that happens that she would have not have survived, and it's just like, I feel like they didn't go that far in the other films because they could have Thor or someone else do those things where she would step back and do the more realistic things. But in this one, yeah, we get her in multiple car crashes without any wounds. We get her falling off of like buildings to out of airplanes, and it's just like, come on, it's just so over the top, and that brings it down for me just a little bit. I think they should have made it a little bit more grounded for her character since she is not a superhero. Basically, she's just too unstoppable. Like, it seems like it takes too much to put her down. We got Florence Pugh playing her sister, uh, Yelena, and she is great to watch as well. I love her in like Midsummer and all those other movies she's did. And yeah, she steals the show in this almost. Her character is really witty and smart, and she's always like has something smart to say to her sister, Black Widow. My only problem with her is she can be too comedic at times. It's almost every scene where she has to put out a pun or a joke or something where it's like, okay, you can tone it down a little bit. Doesn't mean she's not funny. There's times where she's hilarious, but other times it's a little cringe-worthy the amount of times she's trying. They almost try to make her too funny. But she is badass, as well as David Harbour as the father, Lexi, the Red Guardian. See, now his humor lands for me every time. He doesn't always go for the humor, but when it does, it just works for me. While Yelena, it's only sometimes it works. But yeah, David Harbour is awesome in this. A lot of people complain about him, but I think that he's great. And you can just really tell that he was having a blast playing this role. As for the plot itself, I find it pretty generic and kind of basic, especially after we got the big Infinity War and Endgame. Marvel kind of shot themselves in the foot with that, because how are you going to top that? All these films feel like Phase 1 films now, when we're supposed to be in Phase 4. So, yeah, the villain in this is not very memorable or threatening. He's just kind of there. You got the villains like Muscle, the bodyguard, Taskmaster, who he sends out to take people out that he don't like or whatever. Taskmaster gets the job done, and it's a great character. I just wish we would have got to dive a little deeper into that character, like their story in that. It sounds very interesting what we do get, but it's just not enough for me. And this film opens basically showing Natasha and her sister Yelena and her family when they were kids. And I like the origin story thing. I love origin stories. But the only thing, the kid version of Scarlett Johansson's character does not align with her future character. A few of her beliefs and stuff, yeah, but her looks, the way she acts, I don't know. To me, that is not Natasha Romanoff. The younger sister, yeah, she pulled off a future Yelena pretty good. And although the action can be really ridiculous in this at times and far-fetched, it is filmed very well. The choreography is stunning. You know, when Black Widow's fighting hand-to-hand combat where they're spinning and shit, we get a lot of that. A lot of cool chase scenes and stuff. And that's all filmed really well. Marvel's good at doing this by this point in the game. And I'm actually surprised some of the more emotional scenes, like with the family and that, it actually worked for me. It hit home. Like, they sell it. They can throw in those stupid comedic jokes in between those moments sometimes that will kind of ruin the moment. But I feel overall the emotional punch is there for me. And that helps elevate the rating for this movie. And I just want to mention, without spoiling anything, there is a post-credit scene that just wowed me. I'm like, it almost was better than the movie itself. I was more excited at the end seeing that to what's going to happen in the future than this whole movie in itself. I was like, wow, I just can't wait to see how things play out after this film. I don't want to mention anything else because it's heavy spoilers there, but I can just imagine a TV show in the future is going to involve some of these characters. But in the end, this movie just feels a little too late. It probably should have came out right after Civil War, but they waited way too long. And it shows at the box office and in the reviews online. Although this film is very entertaining, it's super enjoyable, I can still have a good time with it. It's not a bad movie despite all of its flaws. It's just such a weird time for this movie to come out. It feels like a Phase 1 movie, and we're past all that. And nothing is going to work the way it did before Infinity War and Endgame. That's just the fact is. So if I'm going to have to rate this film, I'm going to have to give it a solid 7 out of 10. It's not the best MCU film, but I don't think it's the worst either. It's almost a middle-of-the-road film for me in that franchise, but it's still entertaining as hell. So guys, let me know down below what you think of Black Widow. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you think it was too little too late like I did? Let me know down below in the comments. You can also go follow me on Letterboxd. And if you want to support the channel even more, you can go buy me a coffee. Links to all those will be in the description, guys. And that's all I got for you guys today. Thanks for watching.